Well, hello there. Welcome back to Cultural Anthropology. Today we're going to be talking about art and the media. But before we do that, there's a couple of things I want to bring up real quick before we get into the lecture. I've had a few of you email me about the paper, asking about questions on how do I want it formatted and what do I need to include and all that stuff. So I'm going to go over it real quick. Okay, basically, I'm kind of letting you decide what the paper is going to be. I don't have any specific style that I want it in. This is I think the paper itself needs to be based on your individual research. So you should focus on the interviews that you have conducted, and you can include outside resources. But here's the thing. So a lot of ethnographic researchers run into this problem, and I've run into this problem many times. When I'm about to go do a project, I'm like, okay, let's do some research. And I'll go to the library and I'll start looking at books, and I'll go online, I'll look at journal entries and all this stuff and see if I can't find any documentaries. And guess what? There is sometimes little to none available, right? It might just be a subject that hasn't been covered very much. And what are you supposed to do? Well, as a researcher, you have been trained to do research. If you don't have any outside research to base off of, that's okay. You can go ahead and say, okay, I don't have this information, so now I have to go and gather this information maybe for the first time. So when you're thinking about your paper, I want you to take your interviews and have that as the main body of your research. Okay, if you do have a book or an article that you want to include, that's fantastic. I've also had a few questions about, how should it be formatted? Should the anthropological voice be involved? Absolutely. You're the one that's doing the research. Your perspective counts. Okay, and it's important to acknowledge that. Remember that reflexivity and sort of the reflection papers that we've been doing. Anytime that we do that, it's about including your voice, your opinion as the anthropologist into that research to make sure that everyone knows where you're coming from as well. So, you're not only just putting in the evidence, what you have found, but why do you think this? What is leading you to this conclusion? So, yeah, you want to make it as unbiased as possible, but you also want to explain why do you think this way? What's coming that's making you have this conclusion about this research? So, yeah, your main focus should be on your two interviewees, and make sure to include the 4 different lenses that you have chosen over the semester, whatever those lenses are, as far as whether it's religion or race or ethnicity or art, as we will be discussing today. Make sure that you've got 4 different things that you can include. And that should be included in your questions, and like how do these things combine? What do you think about this? How does race combine into your subject inquiry? So take the time to think about those 4 things. How do they fit into your research? How do you develop questions over that? If you have any questions, let me know. And we can discuss those things. I'm more than willing to help out. I think that's about it for the paper. Like I said, just to reiterate, base the paper off of your, for the majority of it, off of your interviews. Remember, it's only 5 pages. You don't have a lot to, a lot of space to put all that stuff into. So base it off of your 2 interviews. You can include extra stuff if you want, but it's not necessary. Make sure you include your 4 different viewpoints. And with this, I would also like you to include those 4 viewpoints on the paper. So like right underneath like your title for the paper, include the various viewpoints that you're including into your discussion. How you organize your paper is totally up to you. Everyone's got different writing skills and writing abilities. I'm going to base my grading of your paper based off of the content. Okay, does it come through clearly? Are you presenting a good argument? Are you presenting good information? And how is it organized? And if it's well organized, yeah, I'll take it. And it doesn't matter how you present it, as long as it comes through clearly. So, if there's something that you want to do, or if there's something that you're really good at, put it in that format. Yeah. So, and have fun with it. I think first and foremost, you should be enjoying this research. It should be an interesting subject that you should enjoy. Let's see, the other thing. Okay, so this week, this is going to be the last week of lectures. Okay, next week is Thanksgiving, so you're going to have to break that week off for the fall break. After that, we're going to have another week of classes, and that's going to be sort of like a combining everything together that we've talked about, doing some exercises. I've got a couple of things planned so that we might be able to implement some of the stuff that we've learned. And then it's finals. So, I mean, we're pretty close to being done. So I hope you've enjoyed the semester as much as I have. Going through all of this stuff has been a lot of fun. Even though we're, in a pandemic and I'm sitting in my basement recording all of this, and I've had some interactions with some of you, which has been very enjoyable. So I hope that you've had fun so far. And again, any questions, reach out. I try and get back to you as quickly as I can, but I've got a lot of stuff going on, so as quickly as I can, I will get to you. Okay, so for this week, I'm including a video as well. And this video is actually my thesis film for my master's degree. For my film, it's based on graffiti writers, both here in Denver and also in Los Angeles. And it talks about this art form and talks about the culture and all that stuff. I liked it, for the most part. And it was very interesting to put together. It's not my first film, and I did a few different things with it that I hadn't done in the past when it came to sort of organizing the film, putting it together. So it's not kind of like your typical documentary. So what I want you to do is I want you to watch the film. It's half an hour. I want you to watch the film, and for your homework assignment, I want you to reflect on, no, I'm sorry, not for homework, for your discussion. Okay, for the discussion, I want you to discuss the film and do a critical analysis of it. So as you're watching it, what do you see that's good? What do you see that's bad? What do you see that's missing? What would you like to see more of? Do an analysis on the film. It's really important to go in and critically analyze any of the work that you're doing. And it gives you a chance to, when you're watching somebody else's work, to say, okay, so what am I watching? Am I seeing something here? What am I watching? Why is this person presenting this information to me? Do they have a goal in that? And that's a really important question to ask. What is this person presenting to me, and why are they presenting it to me like this? So, as you're watching the film, make sure that you're doing a critical analysis of it. Find the flaws, find the positive things, and do an analysis. Think about it, right? So the only thing I want to mention is that the film itself is only half an hour. So I think I ended up having somewhere in the neighborhood of about 30 hours of footage from my interviews and doing the field research and all of that stuff. It came out to about 35 hours worth of actual footage that I then had to condense into half an hour. So another critical thing to always remember is that when you're out doing research, there's going to be a lot of stuff that you're going to be finding and that you're going to be, trying to understand, but you're probably not going to use all of it. And how do you make those decisions? And this is the anthropological voice. Okay, this is the voice that comes in and says, okay, I've got this amount of information that now I have to boil down into something that is negotiable, right? Because if I were to post all 30 hours of my footage, nobody would ever watch it, right? Because it would be boring. It'd be boring. There would be no context, right? It would just be a live stream. And some people like live streams, but most people are like, yeah, just give me something that I can use, right? And that's the issue that we have as researchers, is that we need to make, consumable information. So as you're watching the film, realize that the decision making when it comes to making a film or writing that, research paper, sometimes you start out with a ton of information. How you boil that down, really matters, and can, get you to this point where, let's say, for example, you're doing your interviews, right? And you're doing your formal interviews, and you've got both people are saying, all the same things. Well, you don't have to recite both people saying the same thing. All you have to do is say, hey, I'm going to quote this person as saying this because this is how both people viewed it, right? So you're kind of, if you're going to state something, if it's a consensus, just state it as a consensus. You don't have to have both people state it. And so you're picking the information that is most important, that both sides or both people are all involved agree upon. If there is a differing opinion, then you state that differing opinion. So in general, it comes down to sort of, editing and re-editing all of that information down to something that is the most presentable. Okay, so I think that's it for the paper. I think that's it for the movie. I will have the movie posted. It's called Beyond the Wall. It's a short documentary on graffiti writers. And think about your discussion. And for homework, it's just going to be another reflection paper. Same thing as always. reflection on what we discussed this week, what you read, what you watch, all of that stuff. So all those directions will be online. Okay, so let's go ahead and I'm going to stop here and then we'll start again for the next video or next session. Okay,